The Art of Being Alone, Timeless Lessons for Happiness, Inner Peace and Self-Reliance, published by Limitless Audiobook. Introduction. Every meaningful relationship in your life is shaped by one relationship that never ends, the one you have with yourself. Yet many people spend years learning how to connect with others while never learning how to be comfortable in their own company. They fill every quiet moment with noise, every empty space with distraction, and every uncomfortable feeling with another activity, hoping they will never have to face the silence. But silence is not the enemy. Often it is the doorway to the life you have been searching for. Being alone does not mean being lonely. Solitude is not a punishment or a sign that something is missing. It is a skill, an art, and a source of strength that has guided philosophers, artists, leaders, and ordinary people toward deeper wisdom for generations. When you learn to enjoy your own company, you stop depending on constant approval, endless entertainment, or the presence of others to feel complete. You begin to discover a peace that cannot easily be shaken by life's changing circumstances. In this audiobook, we will explore how to transform time alone into one of the greatest advantages you can possess. You will learn how to quiet your mind, build lasting self-reliance, strengthen your emotional resilience, free yourself from comparison, and create a life that feels rich from the inside out. Each chapter will offer timeless lessons and practical insights that help you replace loneliness with confidence and restlessness with inner calm. By the end of this journey, you may find that the greatest companion you have been searching for has been with you all along. When you learn the art of being alone, you discover that true happiness is not found in escaping yourself. It is found in finally coming home to who you are. Chapter 1. Face the silence without fear. Silence has a way of revealing what noise keeps hidden. The moment the television is turned off, the phone is put away, and the conversations come to an end, you are left with one person, yourself. For many people, that moment feels uncomfortable. They immediately reach for another distraction, another message, another video, or another task. They are not simply avoiding boredom, they are avoiding the thoughts and feelings that rise when there is nowhere left to run. Yet the very place we often avoid is where some of life's greatest discoveries begin. Being alone is one of the most misunderstood experiences in human life. It is often confused with loneliness, but they are not the same. Loneliness is the feeling that something important is missing. Solitude, on the other hand, is the choice to spend time with yourself in a way that restores and strengthens you. One leaves you feeling empty, while the other helps you become whole. The difference is not found in the number of people around you. It is found in the condition of your mind. Imagine sitting on a quiet bench in a peaceful park. One person feels trapped by the silence and checks their phone every few minutes. Another person notices the breeze, watches the trees move gently, and feels grateful simply to be present. The surroundings are identical, yet the experience is completely different. The change comes from within. This is one of the first lessons in the art of being alone. Your peace is not created by your environment. It is created by your relationship with yourself. Many people spend years believing they need the right relationship, the right career, or the right group of friends before they can finally feel complete. While these things certainly add meaning to life, they cannot replace inner peace. If you are uncomfortable with yourself when you are alone, no amount of company will permanently solve that discomfort. Other people can encourage you, love you, and inspire you, but they cannot build the quiet confidence that only grows from knowing yourself. Think about the moments when you have been forced into solitude. Perhaps a friendship ended, your schedule suddenly became quieter, or life changed in a way you never expected. Those seasons may have felt difficult at first, yet they also gave you opportunities you could not have found in constant activity. They invited you to reflect, to question what truly mattered, and to discover strengths that had remained hidden beneath everyday distractions. Growth rarely announces itself with excitement. More often, it arrives quietly while no one else is watching. The fear of silence usually comes from believing that if we stop moving, we will be overwhelmed by our own thoughts. Sometimes that fear is understandable. Silence may bring old disappointments, regrets, worries, or unanswered questions to the surface. But avoiding those thoughts does not make them disappear. They simply wait for another day. Facing them with patience and honesty is the beginning of freedom. You cannot heal what you refuse to acknowledge, and you cannot understand yourself if you never allow yourself to listen. Learning to enjoy your own company does not happen overnight. It begins with small moments. Sit quietly for a few minutes without reaching for your phone. Take a walk without filling every second with music or conversation. Eat a meal slowly and notice your thoughts instead of rushing to escape them. These simple habits may seem insignificant, but they teach your mind an important lesson. Silence is safe. The more often you practice, the more familiar it becomes, and what once felt uncomfortable gradually starts to feel peaceful. As your comfort with solitude grows, something remarkable begins to happen. You stop seeing time alone as empty time. Instead, you begin to recognize it as valuable time. It becomes an opportunity to think clearly before making decisions, to understand your emotions before reacting, and to reconnect with the person you are becoming. You no longer depend on constant stimulation to feel alive, because you have discovered something much more lasting, a calm mind that does not require noise to feel complete. This chapter is not asking you to withdraw from the world or avoid meaningful relationships. Human connection is one of life's greatest gifts. But healthy relationships become stronger when they are built by people who already know how to stand comfortably on their own. The goal is not to choose solitude instead of people. The goal is to stop fearing the moments when you are by yourself. Because once you no longer fear silence, you will begin to hear something that has been waiting for you all along, the quiet voice of your own wisdom. Chapter 2. Become someone you enjoy being with. Imagine spending an entire afternoon with yourself. There are no messages to answer, no meetings to attend, no television playing in the background, and no one asking for your attention. Would that thought make you feel peaceful or restless? Your answer reveals something important. If being alone with yourself feels like a burden, it is not because solitude is the problem. It is because your relationship with yourself has not yet become a friendship. Many people work hard to become someone other people will admire. They develop skills to impress employers, wear clothes that earn compliments, and shape their personalities to fit into different groups. There is nothing wrong with wanting to make a good impression, but somewhere along the way, they forget to ask a much more important question. Do I enjoy being the person I am when no one else is around? This question cannot be answered by applause, promotions, or popularity. It can only be answered in the quiet moments when you are alone with your own thoughts. The truth is simple. You cannot escape yourself. Wherever you go, you take your mind with you. You may travel to another country, move into a new home, or begin a different career, but the person living inside you remains the same unless you intentionally grow. That is why changing your surroundings often brings only temporary relief. A new place may excite you for a while, but eventually the excitement fades and you are left with the same inner conversation you carried there. Becoming someone you enjoy being with begins by changing that conversation. Pay attention to how you speak to yourself throughout the day. Many people would never criticize a close friend as harshly as they criticize themselves. A small mistake becomes proof that they are not good enough. One disappointment becomes evidence that they will never succeed. These thoughts slowly become habits, and those habits shape how they experience every quiet moment. Instead, begin speaking to yourself with honesty and kindness. Kindness does not mean pretending your weaknesses do not exist. It means believing you are capable of improving them. Imagine a wise teacher encouraging a student. The teacher points out mistakes, but never destroys hope. That is the voice you should develop within yourself. It is firm enough to help you grow and gentle enough to keep you moving forward. Another way to enjoy your own company is to become deeply curious. Curious people are rarely bored because they always find something worth exploring. Read books that challenge your thinking. Learn a new skill simply because it interests you. Keep a journal where you examine your experiences instead of merely living through them. Ask yourself meaningful questions. What truly matters to me? What kind of person do I want to become? What habits are quietly shaping my future? Every honest answer strengthens your connection with yourself. This inner growth also changes the way you experience time. Instead of seeing an empty evening as something to survive, you begin to see it as an opportunity. It becomes time to learn, reflect, create, or simply rest without guilt. You stop treating every free moment as a problem that must be filled. Instead, you recognize that unhurried moments are often where your clearest thoughts appear. Consider the story of Ethan Mercer, a financial analyst who lived in a busy city and spent his weekdays surrounded by co-workers, yet every weekend he felt uneasy. The quiet apartment reminded him of how alone he was, so he filled every hour with television, social media, and endless errands. By Sunday night, he felt just as empty as he had on Friday evening. One day he decided to try something different. Instead of escaping the silence, he welcomed it. He began each Saturday morning with a walk through a nearby park, carrying only a notebook. At first, the quiet felt unfamiliar. But over time, he started writing down ideas, reflecting on his goals, and noticing small moments of gratitude that had once passed unnoticed. Months later, his weekends no longer felt lonely. They became the part of the week he valued most because they helped him reconnect with himself. Stories like Ethan's remind us that solitude does not change overnight. It becomes meaningful through repeated practice. Every time you choose reflection instead of distraction, you strengthen the habit of enjoying your own company. Every time you invest in your character instead of chasing constant entertainment, you become a richer person on the inside. There is another benefit that often surprises people. When you genuinely enjoy your own company, you stop expecting others to carry the responsibility of making you happy. Your relationships become lighter and healthier because they are built on sharing life, not filling emotional emptiness. You appreciate people without clinging to them. You value companionship without fearing its absence. This quiet independence creates stronger friendships, deeper love, and greater respect for both yourself and others. Becoming someone you enjoy being with is not about becoming perfect. Perfection is an impossible destination. Growth is the real goal. Every day offers another opportunity to become a little wiser, a little calmer, a little more patient, and a little more grateful. As these qualities take root, something remarkable happens. The person you once tried to avoid becomes the person you trust the most. One day, you may find yourself sitting alone with no urgent plans, no distractions, and no need to escape the moment. Instead of feeling empty, you will feel at home. That is the quiet reward of building a strong relationship with yourself. When your own company becomes a source of comfort, you carry a lasting sense of peace wherever life takes you. Chapter 3. Listen to the voice beneath the noise. Every day, your mind is surrounded by voices. Some come from conversations with family and friends. Others come from advertisements, news headlines, social media, podcasts, emails, and endless notifications. Each one asks for your attention. Each one tells you what to buy, what to believe, what to fear, or what you should become. After a while, so many voices fill your mind that your own becomes difficult to hear. This is one of the greatest challenges of modern life. We are constantly connected to the world, yet increasingly disconnected from ourselves. Your inner voice is not loud. It does not compete with the noise around you. It speaks quietly through your thoughts, your values, your intuition, and your deepest desires. If you never slow down long enough to listen, you may spend years living according to someone else's expectations instead of your own convictions. Many people wake up one day and wonder how they ended up living a life that feels unfamiliar. The answer is often simple. They spent so much time listening outward that they forgot to listen inward. Learning to hear yourself requires intentional silence. At first, silence may feel strange because your mind has grown accustomed to constant stimulation. You may notice random thoughts, unfinished conversations, worries about tomorrow, or memories from years ago. Do not be discouraged by this. Imagine a glass of muddy water that has just been shaken. The more it is disturbed, the cloudier it becomes. But if you leave it alone, the mud slowly settles and the water becomes clear. Your mind works in much the same way. Clarity comes not from forcing your thoughts into order, but from giving them the space to settle naturally. One of the greatest gifts of quiet reflection is that it helps you distinguish between what is urgent and what is truly important. Modern life encourages immediate reactions. Every notification feels like it demands an instant response. Every problem appears larger because it is placed directly in front of you. But silence changes your perspective. It allows you to step back and ask better questions. Will this matter a year from now? Am I reacting from fear or wisdom? Is this decision leading me toward the person I want to become? These questions rarely appear in a hurried mind. They emerge when your thoughts have room to breathe. Many of life's biggest mistakes are not made because people lack intelligence. They happen because people rarely pause long enough to think clearly. Words spoken in anger, decisions made in panic, and commitments accepted without reflection often create problems that could have been avoided with a few moments of quiet consideration. Silence creates a space between feeling and action. Inside that space lives wisdom. The more often you enter it, the less likely you are to become controlled by impulse. Quiet also awakens creativity. Some of history's greatest ideas did not appear during moments of chaos, but during peaceful walks, solitary mornings, or evenings spent reflecting. Creativity does not always arrive with excitement. Sometimes it appears as a gentle realization, a new solution to an old problem, or a simple idea that quietly changes everything. But creativity needs room. A mind crowded with endless distractions has little space left for original thought. Listening to yourself also means becoming honest with yourself. There may be dreams you have ignored because they seemed impractical. There may be fears you have hidden beneath constant busyness. There may even be habits you know are holding you back, but have never taken the time to confront. Silence has a remarkable way of uncovering these truths. It does not judge you for them. It simply places them before you and invites you to respond with courage. This honesty is not meant to discourage you. On the contrary, it is the beginning of genuine freedom. You cannot improve a life you refuse to examine. When you acknowledge your strengths, you gain confidence. When you recognize your weaknesses, you gain direction. Both discoveries are valuable because they bring you closer to becoming the person you are capable of being. There is another quiet voice beneath the noise, and it often goes unnoticed. It is the voice of gratitude. In a busy life, it is easy to focus on what is missing. There is always another goal to reach, another possession to buy, another achievement to pursue. But when you slow down, you begin to notice what has been present all along. You notice the comfort of a peaceful morning, the kindness of a familiar face, the strength you have gained through past struggles, and the simple privilege of another day to grow. Gratitude becomes easier to hear when the world stops shouting. Listening beneath the noise does not require a remote cabin in the mountains or weeks away from society. It can happen in ordinary moments. It can happen during a quiet walk before sunrise, while sitting with a cup of coffee before the day begins, or while watching the evening sky without reaching for your phone. These small moments are powerful because they remind you that peace is not found in escaping life. It is found in paying attention to it. As you continue practicing the art of being alone, make it a habit to protect moments of silence. Treat them as appointments with the most important person you will ever know, you. Over time, you will begin to recognize the difference between the loud opinions of the world and the quiet wisdom that has always existed within you. And when that inner voice becomes familiar, your decisions will become steadier, your mind calmer, and your life more intentional. The world will always have something to say, but the voice that deserves your deepest attention is the one that helps you become your truest self. Chapter 4. Stop asking the world who you are. From the moment you are born, the world begins offering opinions about who you should become. Family members have expectations. Teachers compare your performance with others. Friends influence your choices. Society quietly defines success by status, appearance, income, and popularity. Before long, it becomes easy to mistake these outside voices for your own. Without realizing it, you begin looking to the world for permission to feel valuable. There is nothing wrong with accepting guidance from wise people. Advice can save years of unnecessary mistakes. Encouragement can strengthen your confidence during difficult seasons. But there is a difference between learning from others and depending on them to define your worth. The first helps you grow. The second keeps you emotionally dependent. If your confidence rises and falls with every compliment or criticism, then you have handed the steering wheel of your life to people who may not even know where you truly want to go. Many people spend years chasing approval without ever recognizing the cost. They hesitate to express their real opinions because they fear disagreement. They choose careers that impress others instead of fulfilling themselves. They remain silent when they should speak and say yes when their heart is quietly asking them to say no. Outwardly, they appear successful. Inwardly, they feel disconnected from the person they were meant to become. Approval may feel comforting for a moment, but it can quietly pull you away from your own path. One of the greatest benefits of solitude is that it gives you space to ask questions that no one else can answer for you. What do you truly believe? What kind of character do you want to develop? What values would you hold, even if nobody applauded you for them? These questions require honesty, not popularity. They invite you to build an identity from the inside out instead of borrowing one from the people around you. Imagine standing before two mirrors. One mirror reflects how other people see you. The second reflects who you actually are when no one is watching. The first image changes constantly because opinions change. One day you are admired, the next day you are criticized. The second image changes only as your character changes. It reflects your integrity, your courage, your kindness, and your discipline. If you spend your life polishing the first mirror while ignoring the second, you may look successful to others while feeling empty within yourself. This is why strong character matters more than a strong reputation. Reputation lives in the minds of other people. Character lives within you. Reputation can disappear overnight because of a rumor, a misunderstanding, or circumstances beyond your control. Character remains with you wherever you go. It becomes the quiet foundation beneath every decision you make. Consider Vanessa Holloway, an event planner known for organizing elegant weddings and corporate celebrations. Her calendar was always full, and her clients regularly praised her attention to detail. Yet beneath her professional success, she carried a constant fear of disappointing people. If one client criticized a small detail, she questioned her abilities for days. If someone failed to compliment her work, she assumed she had fallen short. Her confidence depended almost entirely on the opinions of others. Eventually, Vanessa realized she was exhausting herself by trying to satisfy expectations that constantly changed. She began keeping a journal after each project. Instead of asking, "Did everyone approve of me?" she asked different questions. Did I give my best effort? Did I act with honesty? Did I treat people with respect? Did I learn something that will make me better next time? Those questions gradually shifted her focus from external praise to internal growth. Her work improved, but more importantly, her peace of mind did. She still appreciated kind words, but she no longer needed them to believe in herself. There is a quiet freedom that comes when you stop performing for the approval of strangers. You no longer waste energy pretending to be someone you are not. You become more willing to admit mistakes because your value is not destroyed by imperfection. You become more willing to pursue meaningful goals, even if they are not fashionable or widely understood. Instead of asking whether everyone agrees with your choices, you begin asking whether your choices agree with your values. This does not mean becoming stubborn or refusing to listen to feedback. Wise people remain teachable throughout their lives. They welcome constructive criticism because they care about growth, but they also know the difference between helpful guidance and empty judgment. They do not allow every passing opinion to become a permanent belief about themselves. One helpful habit is to spend a few minutes at the end of each day reviewing your actions instead of your recognition. Ask yourself simple questions. Was I patient today? Did I keep my word? Did I act with integrity even when it was inconvenient? Did I move one step closer to becoming the person I want to be? These questions build self-respect because they measure what you can actually control. As you continue mastering the art of being alone, remember that solitude gives you something the noisy world rarely offers, an opportunity to know yourself without interruption. In that quiet place, you discover that your identity is not a collection of compliments, titles, or achievements. It is built one decision at a time through the values you choose to live by. The day you stop asking the world who you are is the day you begin becoming the person you were always capable of being. Chapter 5. Fill your solitude with meaning. Time alone is like an empty room. Some people walk into that room and immediately feel the need to fill it with noise. Others slowly furnish it with things that enrich their lives. The room itself is neither good nor bad. Its value depends on what you choose to place inside it. In the same way, solitude becomes either a burden or a blessing based on how you use it. If you leave it empty, boredom quickly settles in. But if you fill it with purpose, it becomes one of the richest parts of your life. Many people think happiness comes from always having something exciting to do. They chase one form of entertainment after another, believing that a busy schedule is proof of a meaningful life. Yet excitement fades quickly. A movie ends. A vacation comes to an end. Even celebrations eventually become memories. Meaning, however, lasts much longer. It leaves you with a quiet sense that your time has been well spent. The art of being alone is not about finding endless excitement. It is about creating a life that continues to nourish your mind, your heart, and your character, even when no one else is present. One of the greatest mistakes you can make is believing that free time is simply time to escape. There is certainly a place for rest. Your mind and body need moments to recover. But there is a difference between resting and avoiding life. Rest leaves you refreshed. Constant escape leaves you unchanged. If every quiet evening is spent simply distracting yourself, weeks become months, and months quietly become years. Time passes whether you use it wisely or not. The question is whether it leaves you stronger or merely older. Meaning begins with intention. Before you ask how to spend your time, ask why you have been given it. Every hour holds the possibility of becoming an investment instead of an expense. Reading a thoughtful book may shape your thinking for decades. Learning a new skill may open opportunities you cannot yet imagine. Reflecting on your experiences may help you avoid repeating yesterday's mistakes. Even something as simple as taking a peaceful walk can renew your perspective if you remain fully present. Think about the people you admire most. Rarely are they admired because they filled every spare moment with entertainment. They became wise because they remained curious. They asked questions, searched for understanding, practiced their craft, and continued learning long after others had stopped. They treated quiet hours as valuable opportunities rather than empty spaces waiting to be filled. You may not become a famous inventor, writer, or leader, but you can develop the same habit of lifelong growth. That habit is available to everyone. One beautiful way to fill solitude with meaning is through reflection. Reflection is not the same as worrying. Worry circles around problems without moving forward. Reflection looks at experiences with the intention of learning from them. At the end of each day, ask yourself a few simple questions. What brought me peace today? What challenged my patience? What did I learn about myself? Where did I act according to my values, and where can I improve tomorrow? These questions gently guide your life in the right direction without filling your mind with regret. Another meaningful practice is gratitude. Gratitude changes the way you experience ordinary life. Instead of constantly searching for something bigger, you begin appreciating what is already within your reach. A warm cup of coffee in the morning, the sound of rain against the window, a kind conversation, a healthy body capable of carrying you through another day. These moments often go unnoticed because the mind is busy chasing the next achievement. Solitude slows you down enough to recognize them. The more grateful you become, the less dependent you are on extraordinary circumstances to feel happy. Creativity also flourishes in meaningful solitude. You do not have to be an artist to live creatively. Writing in a journal, tending a garden, cooking a thoughtful meal, building something with your hands, practicing an instrument, or solving a difficult problem at work all require the same quality of attention. They invite you to become fully absorbed in what you are doing. During these moments, time seems to disappear because your mind is completely engaged. This kind of focused attention not only improves your abilities, but also brings a deep sense of satisfaction that passive entertainment rarely provides. Meaningful solitude also teaches you to become comfortable without constant stimulation. At first, this may feel unfamiliar because modern life trains you to expect continuous input. Every spare moment can be filled with scrolling, watching, listening, or responding. But when you resist that habit, something remarkable begins to happen. Your own thoughts become more interesting. Ideas connect more naturally. Small observations become meaningful. You begin noticing details that would have been invisible in a distracted life. There will always be days when your schedule is full and days when it is unexpectedly quiet. Instead of fearing those quieter seasons, welcome them. They offer a chance to strengthen the part of yourself that cannot be developed in a crowd. They give you room to think, to learn, to recover, and to grow. These moments are not interruptions to life. They are an essential part of it. As you continue this journey, remember that solitude is never meant to be empty. It is meant to become fertile ground where wisdom takes root, gratitude grows, creativity awakens, and character quietly matures. Every meaningful habit you cultivate while you are alone becomes something you carry into every conversation, every relationship, and every challenge. When you fill your solitude with purpose, you discover that being alone is no longer about the absence of people. It becomes the presence of a richer, stronger, and more peaceful version of yourself. Chapter 6. Train yourself to stand alone. Standing alone is not the same as standing against everyone. It does not mean refusing help, rejecting friendship, or believing you have all the answers. It means developing the quiet confidence to remain steady even when approval is absent, opinions differ, or circumstances become uncertain. A tree that grows strong does not rely on another tree to keep it standing. Its strength comes from the depth of its own roots. In much the same way, your greatest stability comes from the strength you build within yourself. Many people mistake dependence for connection. They believe that if they constantly need someone's advice, reassurance, or permission, they are simply being close to others. Healthy relationships certainly involve trust and support, but they should not replace your ability to think, decide, and grow on your own. When you depend on others for every important decision, you slowly lose confidence in your own judgment. Over time, even simple choices begin to feel overwhelming because you no longer trust yourself to make them. Self-reliance begins with accepting responsibility for your own life. This may sound obvious, yet it is one of the hardest lessons to embrace. It is tempting to blame circumstances, difficult people, or unfortunate events whenever life becomes challenging. While some situations are genuinely beyond your control, your response always belongs to you. The moment you stop waiting for someone else to rescue you is the moment you begin discovering your own strength. Think back to your childhood. There were many things you could not do at first. You learned to walk by falling, learned to read by struggling through unfamiliar words, and learned countless other skills through repeated practice. Confidence did not arrive before the effort. It arrived because of the effort. The same principle applies throughout life. Every challenge you face independently becomes evidence that you are more capable than you once believed. One reason people avoid standing alone is the fear of making mistakes. They assume that choosing incorrectly will somehow prove they are incapable. But mistakes are not signs of failure. They are signs of participation. Someone who never makes a mistake usually avoids making decisions altogether. A person who grows is willing to act, learn, adjust, and improve. The goal is not to become perfect. The goal is to become wiser through experience. This is where solitude becomes a valuable teacher. When you spend time reflecting instead of reacting, you begin noticing how capable you truly are. You discover that many problems can be solved with patience, careful thought, and persistence. Instead of immediately seeking someone else's answer, you first ask yourself, what do I already know? What can I learn? What is the next reasonable step? These questions strengthen your ability to trust your own judgment. Consider Logan Pierce, an elementary school principal who was respected by his staff but privately doubted nearly every important decision he made. Whenever a challenge arose, he called colleagues, searched for endless opinions, and delayed action because he feared making the wrong choice. His uncertainty often created more stress than the original problem. One summer, after attending a leadership retreat, Logan decided to change a simple habit. Before asking anyone else for advice, he forced himself to write down his own solution first. He carefully listed the facts, considered possible outcomes, and chose what he believed was the wisest course of action. Only afterward did he seek additional perspectives if needed. Within months, something unexpected happened. He realized that his first judgment was often thoughtful and balanced. He still welcomed advice, but he no longer depended on it to believe in himself. The confidence he gained did not come from always being right. It came from learning that he was capable of thinking clearly on his own. Logan's story reminds us that confidence is built through repeated acts of self-trust. Every time you solve a problem instead of avoiding it, you strengthen your inner foundation. Every difficult conversation you face with honesty, every decision you make with integrity, and every obstacle you overcome becomes another stone in the structure of your character. No one else can build that structure for you. There will be moments when standing alone feels uncomfortable. You may hold an opinion that others disagree with. You may choose a path that few people understand. You may decide to protect your peace instead of pleasing everyone around you. During those moments, remember that popularity and wisdom are not always found together. Many worthwhile decisions require the courage to walk a different road before anyone else recognizes its value. Training yourself to stand alone also means becoming emotionally steady. Praise should encourage you, but it should not control you. Criticism should teach you when it is fair, but it should not define you. Success should humble you, and failure should instruct you, but neither should become your identity. When your emotional balance depends entirely on changing circumstances, life will constantly pull you in different directions. Inner strength comes from building your identity on values that remain steady regardless of what happens around you. As you continue mastering the art of being alone, remember that self-reliance is not about proving you never need anyone. It is about becoming someone who can remain calm, thoughtful, and resilient, whether surrounded by people or standing quietly by yourself. The stronger your inner foundation becomes, the more freely you can love others without depending on them to complete you. In the end, the person who learns to stand alone does not become isolated. Instead, they become deeply rooted, quietly confident, and prepared to face life with a strength that cannot easily be shaken. Chapter 7. Sit with your emotions until they teach you. Every emotion arrives with a message. Joy reminds you of what brings life meaning. Fear warns you to pay attention. Anger often points toward something that feels unfair. Sadness slows you down long enough to acknowledge what has been lost. Yet many people spend their lives trying to silence these emotions instead of understanding them. The moment discomfort appears, they look for a distraction. They turn on the television, scroll through their phones, fill their schedules, or search for anything that will help them avoid feeling what is happening inside. But emotions that are ignored rarely disappear. They simply wait for another opportunity to be heard. One of the greatest gifts of solitude is that it gives your emotions room to speak. When the noise of the world fades, you begin to notice what has been quietly living beneath the surface. At first, this can feel uncomfortable. You may discover worries you have been carrying for months, disappointments you never fully accepted, or fears you have hidden behind constant busyness. It is tempting to push them away once again, but real peace is not created by avoiding difficult emotions. It is created by understanding them. Imagine a child trying to get a parent's attention. The more the parent ignores the child, the louder the child becomes. Emotions often behave the same way. The more you refuse to acknowledge them, the more powerfully they demand your attention. Anxiety grows stronger when you refuse to examine its cause. Anger becomes bitterness when it is left unaddressed. Grief lingers longer when you pretend it does not exist. Listening does not make these emotions stronger. It often makes them calmer because they no longer have to fight to be noticed. This does not mean believing everything you feel. Emotions are real, but they are not always reliable guides. Feeling afraid does not always mean you are in danger. Feeling discouraged does not mean you are incapable. Feeling rejected does not mean you are unworthy. Your emotions deserve your attention, but they should not become your master. Their purpose is to inform you, not to control you. One of the healthiest habits you can develop is learning to pause before reacting. Someone says something hurtful, and your first impulse is to respond immediately. A disappointing email arrives, and you feel ready to assume the worst. An unexpected setback appears, and your mind begins imagining endless problems. In those moments, create a small space between the emotion and your response. That space may last only a few seconds, but it can change the outcome of an entire day. Inside that pause, ask yourself, what am I really feeling? Why am I feeling this way? What response would make me proud tomorrow? These simple questions help transform emotion into wisdom. Instead of becoming trapped inside the feeling, you begin observing it. You stop saying, I am an angry person, and instead say, I am experiencing anger. That small change matters because it reminds you that emotions are visitors. They come, they stay for a while, and eventually they leave. They are experiences you have, not identities you must carry forever. Patience is essential during this process. We often expect uncomfortable emotions to disappear quickly, but healing rarely follows a schedule. Just as a physical wound requires time to recover, emotional wounds need space, honesty, and care. Some days you will feel strong. Other days old memories may return unexpectedly. This does not mean you are moving backward. It simply means you are human. Growth is rarely a straight line. It is a steady journey of learning, reflecting, and becoming stronger with each step. Solitude becomes especially valuable during difficult seasons because it allows you to process life instead of merely surviving it. Rather than asking, why is this happening to me? Begin asking, what is this experience teaching me? Perhaps disappointment is teaching patience. Perhaps failure is revealing a weakness that needs attention. Perhaps uncertainty is helping you discover courage you never knew you possessed. Every challenge carries the possibility of becoming a teacher if you are willing to remain present long enough to learn the lesson. There is another important truth about emotions that is easy to overlook. The emotions you resist often contain the seeds of your greatest growth. Fear can lead to courage, because courage is not the absence of fear. It is choosing to move forward despite it. Grief can deepen compassion, because those who have suffered often understand others more deeply. Disappointment can strengthen resilience because it teaches you to stand up after life knocks you down. Your difficult emotions are not obstacles placed in your path. They are often part of the path itself. Learning to sit with your emotions also makes you more compassionate toward other people. When you understand your own struggles, you become less quick to judge someone else's. You realize that everyone carries invisible burdens, private disappointments, and silent battles. This awareness softens your heart without weakening your character. You become both stronger and kinder at the same time. As you continue practicing the art of being alone, remember that silence is not empty. It is where your emotions finally have the chance to be understood rather than ignored. Each time you sit quietly with what you feel, instead of running from it, you become a little wiser, a little calmer, and a little more resilient. Over time, you will notice that emotions no longer frighten you as they once did. They become trusted messengers rather than feared enemies. And when you learn to listen carefully to those messages without surrendering to them, you discover a quiet strength that remains steady no matter what life places before you. Chapter 8. Refuse to measure your life against others. Comparison is one of the quietest thieves you will ever encounter. It does not knock loudly at your door or announce its arrival. Instead, it slips into your thoughts unnoticed. You see someone else's success, someone else's relationship, someone else's home, or someone else's achievements, and before long, your own life begins to feel smaller. Nothing around you has actually changed, yet your contentment slowly disappears. The problem is not that someone else has more. The problem is that your attention has shifted away from what is already yours. The habit of comparison has existed for centuries, but never has it been so constant. Every day, you are invited to look into carefully selected moments from other people's lives. You see celebrations without struggles, victories without failures, and smiles without the difficult days that came before them. It is easy to forget that every life contains chapters no one else sees. Every person carries disappointments, doubts, and private battles that never appear on the surface. When you compare your complete reality to someone else's carefully presented moments, you create an unfair contest that no one can win. One of the greatest advantages of solitude is that it helps you step away from this endless competition. When you spend time alone reflecting instead of constantly observing everyone else, your attention naturally returns to your own life. You begin asking different questions. Instead of wondering why someone else is ahead, you ask whether you are becoming wiser than you were yesterday. Instead of measuring your worth against another person's achievements, you begin measuring your growth against your own potential. Life was never meant to be a race where everyone reaches the same destination at the same time. Consider a garden filled with different plants. Some bloom in early spring. Others do not reveal their beauty until late summer. No flower competes with another because each grows according to its own season. Human lives are much the same. Some people find success early. Others discover their purpose later in life. Some build families while they are young. Others spend years developing careers before taking that step. There is no universal timeline that determines the value of your life. Comparison also creates unnecessary pressure. It convinces you that you must constantly prove yourself. Instead of enjoying your own progress, you become anxious about whether someone else is progressing faster. Even achievements lose their joy because they are immediately measured against someone else's accomplishments. A goal that once filled you with excitement suddenly feels insignificant simply because another person reached a different milestone. This way of thinking makes satisfaction almost impossible because there will always be someone who appears richer, more talented, more attractive, or more accomplished. Consider Samantha Rhodes, an interior designer who loved transforming ordinary spaces into beautiful homes. Early in her career, she found great joy in every project. But as her business grew, she began spending more time watching other designers online than improving her own work. Every award someone else received felt like her own failure. Every luxurious project posted by another designer made her question whether she was successful enough. The work she once loved became a constant source of self-doubt. Eventually, Samantha recognized that she had stopped designing homes and had started competing with strangers. She decided to make a simple change. Instead of beginning each morning by looking at what everyone else was doing, she spent the first hour reviewing her own goals, sketching new ideas, and studying design techniques she genuinely wanted to master. Slowly, her focus returned to craftsmanship instead of comparison. Her creativity improved, her confidence returned, and she once again found joy in helping her clients rather than trying to impress the world. Samantha's story reminds us that comparison does not only steal happiness, it also steals attention. Every minute spent worrying about another person's journey is a minute that could have been invested in your own growth. Your greatest opportunities rarely appear while you are watching someone else's life. They appear while you are fully engaged in your own. Gratitude is one of the strongest antidotes to comparison. It is impossible to appreciate what you already have while constantly focusing on what you lack. Each day offers countless reasons to be thankful, but they often go unnoticed because the mind is searching for something bigger. When you deliberately notice the progress you have made, the lessons you have learned, the relationships you cherish, and the strengths you have developed, your perspective begins to change. Gratitude reminds you that your life is already filled with gifts that comparison has been hiding from view. It is also helpful to remember that another person's success does not reduce your own possibilities. Success is not a limited resource that one person must lose for another to gain. Someone else's achievement can inspire you without diminishing your worth. Instead of asking, "Why them?" begin asking, "What can I learn from their example?" That small shift transforms jealousy into motivation and envy into wisdom. As you continue mastering the art of being alone, give yourself permission to step away from the endless scoreboard the world keeps presenting. Your life is not meant to be lived through constant comparison. It is meant to be lived with intention, gratitude, and steady personal growth. The only person you truly need to surpass is the person you were yesterday. When you refuse to measure your life against others, you gain something far more valuable than victory over another person. You gain the freedom to become the fullest expression of yourself, moving at your own pace, guided by your own values, and content with the unique path that belongs to you alone. Chapter 9. Choose depth over constant distraction. The modern world has become remarkably good at keeping you occupied. Every spare moment can be filled with a notification, a headline, a video, or another task demanding your attention. If you stand in line for 2 minutes, you reach for your phone. If you sit quietly for a few moments, you feel the urge to check something. Little by little, constant distraction becomes so normal that stillness begins to feel unfamiliar. Yet a busy mind is not always a fulfilled mind. There is a great difference between being constantly occupied and living with genuine purpose. Distraction is attractive because it asks very little of you. It entertains without requiring reflection. It fills time without asking difficult questions. It offers quick satisfaction without demanding lasting growth. There is nothing wrong with enjoying moments of light entertainment or relaxation. The problem begins when distraction becomes your default response to every quiet moment. When that happens, you lose the opportunity to think deeply, learn patiently, and understand yourself more completely. Depth begins where distraction ends. It is found in giving your full attention to one meaningful thing instead of dividing your attention among many unimportant ones. Think about the conversations that have stayed with you over the years. They were probably not rushed. They were thoughtful, honest, and unhurried. The same principle applies to every important part of life. Meaning grows where attention remains. Imagine trying to see the bottom of a lake while someone continuously throws stones into the water. The surface never becomes still enough to reveal what lies beneath. Your mind works in much the same way. Every unnecessary interruption creates another ripple. When your thoughts are constantly interrupted, it becomes difficult to see clearly. Decisions become rushed, creativity weakens, and even simple pleasures lose their richness because your attention is always somewhere else. One of the greatest gifts you can give yourself is the ability to focus completely. When you read a book without checking your phone every few minutes, you understand more. When you listen carefully during a conversation instead of planning your next response, relationships become deeper. When you work with complete concentration, your results improve while your stress often decreases. Depth is not simply about doing more, it is about experiencing life more fully. Many people believe they need more hours in the day. In reality, they often need fewer distractions within the hours they already have. Time is valuable, but attention is even more valuable because attention determines how you experience time. An hour spent fully engaged in something meaningful often feels rewarding, while an hour lost to mindless distraction leaves you wondering where the time went. This is one reason solitude is so powerful. It creates the conditions where deep thinking becomes possible. Away from constant interruptions, your mind begins connecting ideas that once seemed unrelated. Problems that appeared impossible suddenly reveal simple solutions. Questions you have carried for weeks begin finding answers. These discoveries rarely happen because you force them. They happen because your mind finally has enough quiet to work naturally. Choosing depth also changes the way you learn. Instead of collecting endless pieces of information, you begin searching for understanding. It is easy to know many facts. It is much harder and much more valuable to develop wisdom. Wisdom comes from reflecting on what you learn, testing it through experience, and allowing it to shape your character. Reading one meaningful chapter and thinking about it for an hour often teaches more than reading an entire book without reflection. This principle extends beyond learning into your relationships as well. A few genuine friendships are often more valuable than hundreds of shallow acquaintances. One honest conversation can strengthen a relationship more than dozens of brief exchanges. The same is true for family. Being fully present for a short period often means more than spending hours together while your attention remains elsewhere. Depth transforms ordinary moments into lasting memories because people remember how deeply you listened, not how many words you spoke. There is also a quiet confidence that comes from slowing down. When you stop rushing from one distraction to another, you become more intentional. You choose your words more carefully. You make decisions with greater wisdom. You notice details that hurried people overlook. A beautiful sunrise, the laughter of a loved one, the peaceful rhythm of your own breathing. These simple experiences often pass unnoticed when your attention is scattered, yet they become sources of quiet joy when you truly observe them. Choosing depth requires courage because the world often rewards speed. It praises those who respond instantly, stay constantly connected, and appear endlessly busy. But busyness is not the same as significance. A meaningful life is rarely built through constant motion alone. It is built through thoughtful action guided by clear values. Every time you choose to be fully present instead of endlessly distracted, you strengthen your ability to live intentionally. As you continue practicing the art of being alone, begin protecting your attention as carefully as you protect your time. Give yourself permission to read slowly, think deeply, walk quietly, and simply observe the world without feeling the need to document every moment. Let silence replace unnecessary noise. Let reflection replace constant reaction. Let purpose replace endless activity. In the end, your life will not be measured by how many distractions you consumed or how busy you appeared. It will be shaped by what received your deepest attention. The thoughts you carefully considered, the relationships you genuinely nurtured, the values you faithfully lived by, and the quiet moments you fully experienced will become the true foundation of a meaningful life. When you choose depth over constant distraction, you are not withdrawing from the world. You are finally learning how to live within it with clarity, presence, and peace. Chapter 10. Depend less on circumstances. Life has a way of changing without asking for your permission. A promising opportunity may disappear overnight. A carefully planned future may take an unexpected turn. Relationships evolve, careers shift, health changes, and seasons of certainty often give way to seasons of uncertainty. If your peace depends entirely on favorable circumstances, then your peace will always remain fragile. But if your peace is rooted within you, circumstances may shake your plans without shaking your spirit. Many people spend years believing they will finally be happy when everything around them falls perfectly into place. They tell themselves, once I get the right job, I'll feel secure. Once I earn more money, I'll stop worrying. Once I find the perfect relationship, I'll finally feel complete. These goals are not wrong. There is nothing wrong with working toward a better life. The problem begins when happiness is postponed until every condition is satisfied. Life rarely offers perfect conditions, and if it did, they would not last forever. Think about the weather. Some days are bright and calm, others bring heavy rain or strong winds. You would never expect the sky to remain clear every single day, yet many people expect life to unfold without disappointment or difficulty. When challenges appear, they conclude that something has gone terribly wrong. In reality, change is not an interruption of life. It is one of life's permanent features. The sooner you accept this truth, the less power unexpected events will have over your peace of mind. One of the greatest benefits of solitude is that it teaches you to find stability in something deeper than your surroundings. When you spend time alone reflecting on your values, instead of constantly reacting to external events, you begin to realize that your character is more dependable than your circumstances. Your honesty remains yours, whether you succeed or fail. Your kindness does not disappear because someone criticizes you. Your patience, integrity, and courage travel with you wherever life takes you. These qualities become your true source of stability because they cannot be taken away by changing conditions. This way of thinking transforms the way you face difficulties. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin asking, "How can I respond with wisdom?" The first question leaves you feeling powerless because it focuses on events you cannot control. The second question reminds you that while circumstances may be beyond your control, your response never is. That single shift changes everything. It turns setbacks into opportunities to practice resilience instead of reasons to surrender hope. Consider Garrett Nolan, a commercial pilot who had spent more than 3 decades flying across the country. His career gave him structure, purpose, and daily interaction with people he respected. When retirement finally arrived, he expected to enjoy the freedom. Instead, he found himself feeling restless. Without his familiar routine, he questioned who he was. The uniform was gone, the schedule had disappeared, and the identity he had built around his profession suddenly felt uncertain. For several months, Garrett searched for ways to fill the empty space. He kept himself busy, but the feeling of restlessness remained. Then one morning, while sitting quietly on his back porch, he asked himself a different question. Instead of wondering what he had lost, he began asking what kind of man he still wanted to become. That question changed everything. He started reading books he had postponed for years, volunteered at a local aviation museum to mentor young pilots, and developed a daily routine of walking and reflection. His purpose was no longer tied to his career, it was rooted in the person he chose to be each day. Retirement had changed his circumstances, but it no longer controlled his sense of identity. Garrett's story reminds us that life will always ask us to adapt. Jobs end, children grow up, friends move away, dreams evolve. If your identity depends entirely on circumstances, every change will feel like losing a part of yourself. But when your identity is grounded in your character, change becomes something you navigate rather than something that defines you. This does not mean pretending that disappointment does not hurt. Difficult moments deserve honest emotions. Loss is real, and uncertainty can be unsettling. The goal is not to become emotionally numb. The goal is to remember that your present situation is not the final chapter of your story. Circumstances describe where you are today, but they do not determine who you can become tomorrow. One powerful habit is to begin each day by focusing on what remains within your control. You cannot control the opinions of others, the economy, the weather, or unexpected events. But you can choose your attitude. You can choose your effort. You can choose your words, your habits, and your integrity. These choices may seem small, yet they gradually build a life that is less dependent on outside conditions and more grounded in inner strength. As you continue mastering the art of being alone, remember that solitude teaches one of life's greatest lessons. Peace is an inside job. The quieter your mind becomes, the more clearly you recognize that lasting happiness does not come from arranging perfect circumstances. It comes from developing a steady character that remains faithful to its values through every season of life. When success arrives, welcome it with gratitude rather than pride. When hardship appears, meet it with patience rather than despair. Let changing circumstances shape your experience, but never allow them to define your identity. The strongest people are not those who avoid life's storms. They are those who carry an unshakable calm through them. And that calm is built one quiet day at a time by learning to depend less on what happens around you and more on the strength that grows within you. Chapter 11. Discover the freedom of wanting less. One of the quietest forms of freedom is rarely celebrated. It is the freedom that comes when you no longer believe you need more in order to be enough. Modern life constantly whispers that happiness is waiting just beyond the next purchase, the next promotion, the next achievement, or the next possession. There is always another goal to chase and another standard to reach. While ambition has its place, a life built entirely on more can become a life where satisfaction is always postponed. The finish line keeps moving, and peace remains just out of reach. The art of being alone teaches a different lesson. It reminds you that contentment is not found by endlessly adding to your life, but by learning to appreciate what is already present. This does not mean giving up dreams or refusing to improve yourself. Growth is a beautiful part of life. The difference lies in your motivation. Do you pursue success because you are already whole and want to contribute more to the world? Or do you pursue it because you believe it is the only thing that can make you feel complete? Those are two very different journeys. Wanting less is not about lowering your standards. It is about raising your awareness. It is realizing that many of the things you chase every day bring only temporary excitement, while the things that truly enrich your life often cost very little. A peaceful morning before the world wakes up. A meaningful conversation with someone you trust. The satisfaction of finishing a good book. The feeling of walking outside with no destination except to enjoy the fresh air. These moments rarely attract attention, yet they quietly nourish the soul. When you spend time alone, you begin to notice how little is actually required for a fulfilling day. Solitude removes many of the pressures that encourage unnecessary comparison and consumption. You stop buying things simply to impress people. You stop filling your schedule simply to appear busy. Instead, you begin asking a much better question: does this truly add value to my life? That single question has the power to simplify almost every area of your life. Think about your home for a moment. Imagine every room filled with so much furniture that you can barely move. Even beautiful things lose their value when there are too many of them. The mind works the same way. Too many commitments create stress. Too many possessions create responsibility. Too many distractions create confusion. Simplicity creates space, and space allows peace to grow. This principle extends beyond material possessions. Sometimes the things you need to release are invisible. Old resentments, unnecessary guilt, unrealistic expectations, and constant worry occupy emotional space that could be used for gratitude, hope, and creativity. Holding on to these burdens does not make you stronger, it only makes your journey heavier. Learning to let go is often just as important as learning to acquire. Many people fear simplicity because they mistake it for emptiness. In reality, simplicity makes room for what truly matters. A calendar with fewer unnecessary obligations gives you more time for meaningful relationships. A quieter mind allows better decisions. A life with fewer distractions makes it easier to notice beauty that was always there but often overlooked. Simplicity is not the absence of richness. It is the removal of everything that prevents you from experiencing it. There is also a deep confidence that grows when you stop tying your happiness to possessions or status. If your joy depends on owning more than everyone else, you will always feel vulnerable because there will always be someone with more. But if your joy comes from your values, your character, and your appreciation for life, then very little can take it away. You become difficult to impress because you are also difficult to disappoint. You recognize that your worth cannot be purchased, displayed, or compared. Wanting less also changes the way you experience success. Success no longer becomes a desperate attempt to prove yourself. Instead, it becomes an opportunity to express your abilities and serve others. You can celebrate achievements without becoming enslaved by them. You can enjoy comfort without believing comfort is the purpose of life. You begin to own your possessions instead of allowing your possessions to own you. Gratitude becomes the natural companion of simplicity. Every day offers small gifts that are easy to miss when your attention is fixed on what is missing. The warmth of sunlight through a window, the sound of rain on the roof, the comfort of a familiar chair, the laughter of someone you love, the quiet satisfaction of ending the day with a clear conscience. These moments remind you that life's greatest treasures are often ordinary. The person who learns to notice them becomes rich in a way that cannot be measured by numbers. As you continue practicing the art of being alone, remember that solitude has a remarkable way of separating needs from wants. In the quiet, many desires lose their urgency. You begin seeing which pursuits truly align with your values and which were simply borrowed from the expectations of the world around you. This clarity is a gift because it allows you to spend your energy on what genuinely matters instead of chasing what merely looks impressive. The freedom of wanting less is not a life of limitation. It is a life of liberation. It frees you from the exhausting belief that happiness is always somewhere else. It invites you to discover that peace has been available all along, hidden beneath unnecessary noise, endless comparison, and constant striving. When you learn to appreciate enough, you stop living as though life is always waiting to begin. You begin living fully today with a grateful heart, an uncluttered mind, and the quiet confidence that what truly matters can never be bought, only lived. Chapter 12. Guard your inner peace every day. Peace is not something you discover once and keep forever. It is something you protect day after day through the choices you make. Just as a beautiful garden requires regular care to remain healthy, your inner peace requires attention if it is to continue growing. Neglect it for too long, and worry, resentment, unnecessary commitments, and endless distractions begin to spread like weeds. They do not arrive all at once. They appear quietly, one small habit at a time, until you suddenly wonder why your mind feels so heavy. Many people believe that peace depends on finding the perfect environment. They imagine that if they could live in a quieter place, earn more money, work with easier people, or eliminate every problem from their lives, then they would finally feel calm. Yet there are people living in peaceful neighborhoods who carry restless minds, and there are people facing difficult circumstances who remain remarkably composed. This tells us something important. While your surroundings certainly influence you, they do not have the final word. Lasting peace is protected from the inside before it is experienced on the outside. One of the greatest threats to inner peace is saying yes too often. Some people agree to every request because they fear disappointing others. They accept responsibilities they cannot reasonably manage. They fill every empty space in their calendar until there is no room left to rest, reflect, or simply breathe. At first, this feels generous. Over time, it becomes exhausting. A life without healthy boundaries slowly becomes a life controlled by other people's priorities instead of your own values. Learning to say no is not an act of selfishness, it is an act of wisdom. Every time you say yes to something unnecessary, you are saying no to something else that may be far more important. You may be saying no to your health, your family, your quiet time, your personal growth, or your peace of mind. Wise people understand that every commitment carries a cost. They choose carefully because they know their time and energy are limited resources. Consider Claire Whitmore, a corporate attorney whose reputation for reliability made her the first person everyone called when they needed help. She accepted extra projects at work, volunteered for community events, and rarely turned down a favor from friends. From the outside, she appeared successful and dependable, but privately she was constantly exhausted. Her evenings disappeared into unfinished work. Weekends became extensions of the office, and even moments with her family were interrupted by emails and phone calls. She convinced herself that saying yes was the only way to prove her value. Eventually, Claire realized that the life she was building left no room for the person she wanted to become. She began making small but significant changes. She stopped accepting every request immediately and instead gave herself time to think before responding. She asked whether each commitment truly aligned with her priorities. Sometimes she politely declined. Other times she suggested someone else who could help. At first, she worried people would think less of her. Instead, something surprising happened. Most people respected her honesty, and those who truly valued her continued to do so. More importantly, Claire regained something she had almost forgotten: time to think, to rest, and to simply enjoy her own life. Her story reminds us that protecting your peace often requires quiet courage. Not everyone will understand your boundaries, especially if they benefited from your lack of them. But you cannot build a meaningful life by trying to satisfy every expectation placed upon you. Your responsibility is not to please everyone, it is to live faithfully according to your deepest values. Another way to guard your peace is to become more selective about what you allow into your mind. Just as you would not invite every stranger into your home, you should not allow every opinion, every piece of negative news, or every unnecessary argument to occupy your thoughts. This does not mean ignoring reality or pretending problems do not exist. It means recognizing that your attention is valuable. What you repeatedly consume shapes the way you think, and the way you think shapes the way you live. It is also important to protect your peace from unnecessary conflict. Not every disagreement deserves your participation. Some arguments lead to understanding, while others simply drain your energy without changing anything. Wisdom includes knowing the difference. Sometimes the strongest response is not speaking louder, but choosing silence. Sometimes preserving your peace is more valuable than winning a debate that leaves everyone resentful. Daily habits also play a quiet but powerful role in protecting your inner world. A few minutes of reflection before the day begins can prepare your mind for whatever lies ahead. A walk in the fresh air can restore perspective after hours of work. Reading a few thoughtful pages before bed can calm a restless mind far more effectively than another hour of endless scrolling. Small habits repeated consistently become the invisible foundation of a peaceful life. As you continue mastering the art of being alone, remember that peace is not something to search for only after life becomes difficult. It is something to cultivate before the storms arrive. Every healthy boundary you establish, every unnecessary distraction you remove, every thoughtful habit you practice, and every quiet moment you protect strengthens your ability to remain calm when life becomes uncertain. In the end, your inner peace is one of your greatest treasures. It influences your decisions, your relationships, your health, and your happiness. Protect it with the same care you would give anything precious. Because once you learn to guard your peace every day, you will discover that the world may continue changing around you, but there is a quiet place within you that remains steady, welcoming, and unshaken. Chapter 13. Build a life that feels complete. There comes a moment in every meaningful journey when you stop searching for the missing piece and begin realizing that your life was never meant to be completed by something outside of you. This realization does not happen all at once. It grows quietly through the choices you make, the lessons you learn, and the relationship you build with yourself. You begin to understand that a complete life is not a perfect life. It is a life that remains grounded in purpose, guided by values, and strengthened by inner peace, regardless of what changes around it. For much of life, it is easy to believe that happiness always lives somewhere in the future. You tell yourself that everything will finally make sense after one more achievement, one more promotion, one more relationship, or one more milestone. While these experiences can certainly add richness to life, they cannot create the foundation of lasting fulfillment. A foundation must be built before anything lasting can stand upon it. That foundation is your character. Think back to everything you have explored throughout this audiobook. You learned to face silence instead of fearing it. You discovered how to become someone whose own company brings comfort instead of discomfort. You learned to listen beneath the noise, to stop asking the world to define your worth, to fill your solitude with meaning, and to stand firmly on your own values. You practiced sitting with your emotions instead of running from them, released the burden of comparison, chose depth over distraction, depended less on changing circumstances, discovered the freedom of wanting less, and learned to guard your inner peace. None of these lessons exist separately. Together, they shape a way of living. Imagine building a house. No one admires the foundation because it remains hidden beneath the surface. Visitors notice the beautiful rooms, the windows, and the design. Yet without a strong foundation, none of those visible features would remain standing for long. Your inner life works the same way. People may admire your achievements, your confidence, or your success, but all of those things become unstable if they are not supported by honesty, discipline, gratitude, patience, and self-respect. The strongest lives are built from the inside out. Living a complete life also means accepting that no one can live it for you. Other people can encourage you, inspire you, and walk beside you, but they cannot think your thoughts, make your choices, or shape your character. Those responsibilities belong entirely to you. This truth may seem demanding at first, but it is also deeply empowering. If your life belongs to you, then so does your ability to improve it. You are never completely powerless because every new day offers another opportunity to choose wisdom over impulse, gratitude over complaint, and courage over fear. A complete life is also a balanced life. It makes room for ambition without allowing ambition to become an obsession. It values relationships without becoming emotionally dependent upon them. It enjoys success without measuring personal worth by success alone. It appreciates comfort without forgetting that some of life's greatest lessons are learned through difficulty. Balance does not mean every day feels easy. It means your values remain steady even when your circumstances do not. Many people spend years trying to become impressive. They work hard to earn admiration from others, hoping recognition will finally bring lasting satisfaction. But admiration fades quickly because it depends on changing opinions. Respect is different. Respect grows quietly from consistent character. When you keep your promises, treat people with kindness, remain honest when it would be easier to compromise, and continue growing without seeking applause, you develop something far more valuable than popularity. You develop self-respect, and self-respect is one of the few treasures that cannot be given by others or taken away from you. There is another important lesson that often becomes clear only after spending time in solitude. Life is not asking you to become someone else. It is asking you to become more fully yourself. Too many people spend years wearing masks to fit expectations that were never truly theirs. They hide their values to avoid criticism, suppress their dreams to avoid failure, and silence their voices to avoid standing out. Yet genuine fulfillment begins the moment you stop performing and start living with authenticity. The world does not need another imitation. It needs the person you were created to become. As you build a life that feels complete, remember that progress is more important than perfection. There will still be difficult days. You will still make mistakes, experience disappointment, and occasionally lose your sense of direction. That does not erase your growth. Every setback becomes another opportunity to practice the lessons you have learned. Every challenge becomes another chance to strengthen the character you are building. The goal has never been to avoid every struggle. The goal has been to become the kind of person who can face those struggles with wisdom and calm. One day, you may find yourself sitting quietly, with no need to prove anything to anyone. You will not be free from every problem, but you will notice something different within yourself. Your mind will be less restless. Your heart will be less dependent on outside approval. Your happiness will no longer rise and fall with every circumstance. You will enjoy the company of others without fearing solitude, pursue meaningful goals without sacrificing your peace, and welcome each new season of life with quiet confidence. That is what it means to build a life that feels complete. It is not a destination marked by perfection or endless comfort. It is a lifelong practice of returning to what truly matters. It is choosing character over image, purpose over distraction, gratitude over comparison, and inner peace over constant striving. When you continue making those choices day after day, you discover that the greatest achievement is not simply building a successful life. It is building a life that feels deeply, genuinely, and unshakably your own. Chapter 14. Walk through the world whole and unshaken. Every journey eventually leads to a moment of realization, not the kind that arrives with loud applause or dramatic celebration, but the kind that quietly settles into your heart. It is the realization that you no longer fear your own company. You no longer believe that your happiness depends on constant approval, endless activity, or perfect circumstances. You have discovered something far more valuable. You have discovered yourself. The art of being alone was never about escaping the world. It was never an invitation to isolate yourself or to believe that people do not matter. Human connection is one of life's greatest gifts. Friendships enrich us, families strengthen us, and love gives life remarkable beauty. But every healthy relationship grows stronger when it is built by two whole people instead of two people searching for someone else to complete them. The strongest love is shared freely, not offered out of fear of being alone. As you have traveled through these chapters, you have gradually built a different way of living. You learn that silence is not empty, but full of wisdom for those willing to listen. You discovered that your inner conversation shapes your outer life. You realized that your identity cannot safely rest in other people's opinions because opinions change while character remains. You learned that comparison steals joy, distractions weaken attention, and unnecessary desires often hide the simple happiness already within your reach. None of these lessons stand alone. Together, they become a way of seeing the world. Imagine carrying a lantern through a dark forest. The lantern does not remove every obstacle from your path. It does not straighten every winding road or prevent every storm. What it does is allow you to take the next step with confidence. Inner peace works in much the same way. It does not guarantee an easy life. It gives you enough clarity to continue moving forward, even when the future is uncertain. There will always be seasons you did not expect. You may experience success that changes your life, or disappointment that tests your patience. People may enter your life with kindness, and others may leave without explanation. Plans may succeed beautifully, or fall apart without warning. Through all these changing experiences, remember one simple truth. Your circumstances are chapters in your story, but they are not the author of your story. The author is the person you choose to become through those experiences. Walking through the world whole means carrying your values wherever you go. It means choosing honesty even when dishonesty seems easier. It means remaining kind when bitterness feels tempting. It means practicing gratitude when complaints seem more popular. It means protecting your peace without becoming indifferent to others. These choices may seem ordinary, but repeated over months and years, they shape an extraordinary life. There is a quiet confidence that belongs to people who have learned to enjoy their own company. They do not need to dominate every conversation because they are comfortable with silence. They do not constantly seek attention because they already know their worth. They do not panic when plans change because they trust their ability to adapt. They move through life with steadiness rather than urgency. Their calm becomes a source of strength for everyone around them. This kind of confidence should never be confused with pride. Pride says, "I do not need anyone." Wisdom says, "I value others deeply, but I do not depend on them to tell me who I am." That difference changes everything. It allows you to receive love with gratitude instead of desperation. It allows you to offer kindness without expecting something in return. It allows you to celebrate another person's success without feeling that your own life has become smaller. As you continue living beyond this audiobook, remember that the habits you have developed will require practice. Some days you will naturally choose reflection over distraction. Other days you may find yourself slipping back into old patterns of comparison or unnecessary busyness. Do not become discouraged. Growth is not measured by never stumbling. It is measured by how often you return to the path that leads you toward wisdom. Every day offers a new opportunity to begin again. Protect your moments of solitude. Do not treat them as empty spaces waiting to be filled. Treat them as opportunities to reconnect with your deepest values. Let silence remind you of what truly matters. Let reflection sharpen your judgment. Let gratitude soften your heart. Let simplicity keep your life uncluttered. And let your growing self-respect become the quiet foundation beneath everything you do. One day, perhaps years from now, someone may ask you what changed your life. They may expect you to mention a remarkable opportunity, an influential mentor, or an extraordinary event. yet you may find yourself remembering something much quieter. You may remember the day you stopped running from yourself. The day you realized that being alone was never your greatest fear, it was your greatest teacher. It taught you patience when life felt rushed. It taught you courage when uncertainty appeared. It taught you contentment when the world insisted that more was always necessary. Most importantly, it taught you that peace is not something you discover in distant places. It is something you patiently build within your own heart. Walk forward then with quiet confidence. Welcome people into your life, but never abandon yourself to keep them there. Pursue meaningful dreams, but never sacrifice your peace in the process. Continue learning, growing, giving, and loving, while remembering that the strongest foundation you will ever possess is the relationship you have with yourself. When you learn to walk through the world whole and unshaken, you carry with you a strength that no circumstance can steal, no opinion can diminish, and no passing season can erase. That quiet strength will become your lifelong companion, guiding you through every chapter that still waits to be written. Conclusion. Every meaningful journey leaves you with more than information. It leaves you changed. If you have listened with an open mind, this audiobook has never simply been about spending time alone. It has been about discovering a way of living that cannot easily be shaken by the changing conditions of the world. It has been about finding a quiet strength that remains with you whether you are surrounded by people or sitting peacefully by yourself. Throughout these chapters, you have learned that solitude is not the absence of life. It is often where life becomes most visible. In silence, you hear thoughts that were hidden beneath constant noise. In reflection, you recognize habits that have quietly shaped your future. In stillness, you discover that peace has never depended on perfect circumstances. It has depended on your willingness to build a healthy relationship with the one person who will accompany you every day of your life. You. You have seen that loneliness and solitude are not the same. Loneliness comes from feeling disconnected, while solitude becomes a place where connection with yourself grows stronger. That connection changes everything. It gives you the courage to stop seeking constant approval, the wisdom to resist comparison, the patience to understand your emotions, and the confidence to stand firmly on your own values. Instead of asking the world to tell you who you are, you begin discovering that answer from within. Perhaps one of the greatest lessons of all is that happiness cannot be borrowed. Other people can encourage you, inspire you, and fill your life with love, but they cannot permanently carry the responsibility for your peace. That responsibility belongs to you. At first, this truth may seem demanding, yet it is also wonderfully freeing, because it means your happiness is no longer held hostage by changing opinions, uncertain circumstances, or temporary disappointments. The key has been in your hands all along. As you move forward, there will still be difficult days. There will be moments when life feels uncertain, when plans change without warning, or when disappointment visits your doorstep. Do not see those moments as proof that you have failed. See them as opportunities to practice what you have learned. Return to silence when the world becomes noisy. Return to gratitude when comparison begins stealing your joy. Return to reflection when emotions become overwhelming. Return to your values whenever confusion clouds your direction. The lessons in this audiobook are not meant to be remembered only once. They are meant to become lifelong companions. Remember that growth is rarely dramatic. A tree does not become mighty overnight. It grows quietly, one season at a time, strengthening its roots long before anyone notices the height of its branches. Your inner life grows the same way. Every thoughtful decision, every honest conversation with yourself, every unnecessary distraction you resist, and every peaceful moment you protect adds another layer to the foundation of your character. Day by day, those small choices create a person who is calm in difficulty, grateful in success, and steady through every season of life. Do not measure your progress by how often you are praised or how impressive your life appears to others. Measure it by quieter signs. Are you becoming more patient than you were last year? Do you recover more quickly from disappointment? Can you sit alone without feeling the need to escape yourself? Are you making decisions that reflect your values instead of your fears? These are the victories that truly matter because they cannot be taken away by changing circumstances. Never forget that solitude is not meant to pull you away from the world. Its purpose is to prepare you for it. The stronger your relationship with yourself becomes, the healthier your relationships with others will be. You will listen more deeply because you no longer need every conversation to prove your worth. You will love more freely because you no longer expect others to fill every empty place within you. You will forgive more easily because your peace will become more valuable than holding on to resentment. You will serve more generously because your life will no longer revolve around constant validation. There is a beautiful paradox in the art of being alone. The more comfortable you become with yourself, the more present you become with other people. You stop viewing relationships as a way to escape loneliness and begin experiencing them as opportunities to share the peace you have already found. You discover that true independence does not make the heart colder. It makes it freer to give without fear and to receive with gratitude. As this audiobook comes to an end, think of it not as the closing of a story, but as the beginning of a new way of living. Continue creating moments of silence in a noisy world. Continue asking meaningful questions instead of rushing toward easy answers. Continue choosing depth over distraction, gratitude over comparison, character over image, and peace over endless striving. These choices may seem small on any single day, but over a lifetime they become the quiet architecture of an extraordinary life. One day you may look back and realize that the greatest gift solitude ever gave you was not simply the ability to enjoy being alone. It was the ability to walk into every room, every relationship, every challenge, and every new season of life already feeling complete. You will no longer search for someone else to tell you that you are enough because you will know it through the life you have chosen to build. You will no longer fear silence because it will have become the place where your wisdom, courage, and peace continue to grow. So walk forward with confidence, protect your inner world with care. Welcome people into your life, cherish them, learn from them, and love them deeply. But never lose the friendship you have built with yourself. It is the one relationship that will accompany you through every sunrise, every setback, every triumph, and every tomorrow. Because in the end, the art of being alone is not about living without others. It is about living so fully within yourself that wherever life takes you, you carry happiness, inner peace, and self-reliance with you. And that is a kind of freedom no one can ever take away.